Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome. Today we're going to do an unboxing from the Origins loot. This is from Free League Publishing, a Swedish publisher, and it is the new edition of Twilight 2000. Now, I know that a lot of people, myself included, and I was already familiar with Free League's products, specifically with their fantasy RPG Forbidden Lands, were pretty skeptical that they could nail Twilight 2000. Lots of people, like I said, including myself. And other, veterans of Twilight 2000, the original classic game from Game Designers Workshop. But it came out some time ago, roughly 6 months ago at this point, when I'm recording this in early June 2022. And the reception has been very, very positive, including from some of those very same questioning people who doubted that they could get this right. They have done some changes to the background, and I don't know that I think they're great changes necessarily. One of them is kind of obvious, where you have a secondary campaign area in Sweden, oddly enough, because it's a Swedish publisher. But new edition of Twilight 2000, we're going to unbox it today. It is a more or less standard-sized RPG-type box. For a wargamer, I would say the box is a little smaller than that. I'd say it's a little thinner than that too, but not by much. And it's quite heavy, by the way. So we are going to open her up and see what is in here. There's a list on the back. It's a lot of goodies. So pulling off the very professional shrink wrap. So I did not originally budget. We're going to unwrap the screen too, which is very nice. I didn't budget for the screen, but two of the publishers that I had budgeted for Origins 2022 weren't there. So Free League is one of the minor beneficiaries of that. So 2 silica gel packets. I recommend not eating these. We have a big bag of dice. Okay, we got a bunch of D12s. We've got a couple of D8s, a D10, what looks like a hit location die. That's what that looks like. Fairly, gritty type combat, and a couple of bullety type dice. So custom dice for this. I suspect that, like other Free League games, you can absolutely just use regular D whatevers, and it'd work fine. But there might be some extra tracking for, say the 10 on the D12 is actually worth 2 successes instead of just 1. So you have to kind of keep that in mind, and I feel like that'd be a bit of a headache to remember. So if you are going to play a Free League game, all of which that I've looked at not require, but have their own special dice, I'd get the special dice. The problem with Forbidden Lands is that they don't come in the box, and when you buy them, it's like a $25 set of dice, and you really don't have enough of them. You really need to buy 2 sets, and that's a bit lame. But that doesn't appear to be a problem here. We have a Free League Games catalog, which is a tiny little leaflet-type catalog. That is the cover of Forbidden Lands, by the way. We're not really going to look at that. We have cards. There are encounter cards, which is cool. They're like random encounter cards. But I feel like you'd need like multiple decks of those. And there are initiative cards, but they're just cards numbered 1 through 10, so you could just use playing cards for that. So we're not even really going to look at these. We're going to save those in the box for now. Now, there's a whole pile of stuff in here, and I feel like you cannot extract the material from the box without turning the box upside down. So that is what we are going to do. Big stack of stuff, quite heavy, and it feels like a lot of the weight is in the books. So this is Situation. So this is, I think, one of the campaign areas, the Sweden campaign area. Okay. And of course, the original idea was World War III has kind of already happened, and the world is a total catastrophe now. And you, a former member of NATO forces, are now trapped behind enemy lines. And originally, that was in Poland, and it looks like one of these 2 areas. So this is the one for Sweden. It's kind of like the campaign briefing. You'd hand this out. That's got a little mini map inside and a bunch of cool info. This is the one for Poland. So Poland being the original setting, Sweden being the new one. Now we get a bunch of these little tactical maps too, and these are on a nice, quite thick paper, somewhat glossy, and there was a hex grid on these. Do we get counters or something? I'm curious now. Or stand-ups, maybe? They're both double-sided. There's like a little urban area there. We get a pretty large poster map, which we'll take a look at. And I think, I wonder if, I don't know who the artist is, and we're not going to find out in this video. But this reminds me, and I think both maps are done in the same style of like 80s era military situation maps. If you've seen the maps from some of Thin Red Line Games' war games, the style looks very similar to this, actually. This is the Poland map, and then on the back, you've got the Sweden map. So, and big poster map, once again, it's on quite thick stock. It's kind of got a sort of rubberized, it's not really rubberized, but it's got like a texture to it. I do like the feel of those maps. We have a stack of character sheets, which is cool. I do kind of miss, in a nostalgic way, the days when there might be a pad of character sheets in the game that you just bought. Nobody's really doing that anymore. They give you about 6 of them here. I don't, I wouldn't use these. I would photocopy these. But they've got like a tint to them that will make them, I think, more difficult to photocopy. And I don't know offhand if their website has downloadable character sheets, so that is a thing we can research. We've got more of these little tactical maps. These are just little one-pagers, and there's quite a few of these, actually. Okay. Bunch of these, and they're all on the same sort of medium-weight cardstock, I'd say. We got some urban areas here, too, some like apartment blocks or something. So more... Oh, there are counters. Sweet. I love counters. Okay, so now we get this. I mean, we're not all the way through here, and we're already into kind of a lot of stuff, to be honest. Put the character sheets in the box. I'm only dealing with the loose stuff. We get a counter sheet, which I think would make a wargamer very pleased. We get counters for individual people and vehicles, and they are pre-rounded. And these presumably represent some kind of states. And there's markers for mines and chemical weapons, and mines and chemical weapons, and some explosion markers and stuff. I don't know what these mean, for example. Maybe that's artillery support, something like that. Who knows? But it's pretty cool that you get a counter sheet with this. Now, of course, you'll put this in baggies, I guess. I don't know. Will a GMT counter tray fit in this box? Let's find out. So here is a brand new, from the last batch, them coming off the boat this time, GMT counter tray, and there is in fact enough room for a GMT counter tray in this box. So if you want to be that fastidious about organizing those counters, and I'm not sure that you do, you can absolutely use a GMT counter tray, or one of those little Dollar Tree trays is what I would recommend. Okay, so we have 2 books, 2 beefy booklets. I don't want to say booklet because they're, these are big, right? So there's a player's manual and a referee's manual. And so the other thing that appeals to me about this is they've kind of set it up. And the original was like this too, but a little less discreetly. They've kind of set it up as a hex crawl, which is the campaign style that I really like anyway. So player's manual is, and these are heavy. This is where the weight is, 152 pages, full color. There's a lot of guns. I was looking through a buddy's copy, and there's like a lot of guns and vehicles and gear. There's a lot of detail, a lot of meat in the combat system. Much more so than I expected looking at their fantasy game. Now, this is a totally different system than the original Twilight 2000. It is going to be, I think, a little cleaner playing, but it nevertheless gives you a lot of tactical options. Perfect binding, blank back pretty much, blank spine, but you're going to put it back in the box. So, a referee's manual is 112 pages. And this is going to give you like a lot of material. The World at War, this gives you all the background, your job as referee, encounters, factions and forces for Poland, Sweden, and wherever else. Scenario sites, these will be your like little sort of hex crawl locations you could find. There are hex crawling tools. There's solitaire rules, which is a thing I am seeing in more RPGs now. I have always considered RPGs to be a social activity. There are certainly solitairable elements in something like Traveller, but I'm seeing discrete solitaire rules in some of these games now, so that's really neat. Let me know if you would like to see more on that particular content. Now, back to the box. We do have the dice and the cards, and I don't care about the catalog particularly, but there's actually not vertical room for that counter tray in here. But We also have a screen, which, again, didn't budget for, but, you know, by happy mischance, I managed to get a copy of it. So let us take a look at the screen and determine whether the screen fits in the box. It would certainly be nice if it would. I'm going to try and get this open without wrecking it. That would be cool. And it's this is a modern screen. And by that I mean it has a weight the thickness of a hardcover book, and not a weight the thickness of a paperback book, which feels cheap and flimsy nowadays. There are reasons to do it, but it still feels cheap and flimsy. So this is like the little cover sheet. The landscape screen. It is a 3-panel landscape screen with ranged fire modifiers, good slow actions, free actions, fast actions, component damage, critical injuries, more critical injuries, typical barriers, and then on the front it has, I think, and the art in here is spectacular, by the way, as it is actually in every Free League product that I have seen or looked at. The art in here is spectacular, and this screen image is very atmospheric, and I like it very much. So the question I would like to ask, does it fit in the box? Because their new edition of the One Ring RPGs screen does not fit in the box. I could force this. It is a millimeter or so short of fitting in the box. I'm not going to force it. I'll put this cover sheet in there. I'm not going to force it in because I think that will lean toward damaging the box. There's not really enough vertical room for it anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but it would have been nice if it fit in the box, but, you know, I'm not going to exactly write him an angry letter about it either. So the new Twilight 2000 from Free League, it's an extremely handsome product. It's very well produced. It has been very well received, and this is one of the kind of exceptions to my core RPGs rule that I have made because it looks so promising, and of course because we all fondly remember the original Twilight 2000 back in the day. Hopefully you have found this video informative and or entertaining and or amusing. If so, please do give it a thumbs up. Please do help support the channel. Thanks to all the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair who help to make this kind of content possible. Your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, thanks for watching and happy gaming.